the Grey Hat Beard podcast. So, I know many podcasts talk about sponsors. We're not being sponsored yet, so it's something we may look at in the future. And then we can buy stickers, because we know Gary loves stickers. So, and we can sort of share some stuff like the others do.
I've got some special stickers now that I don't want to put anywhere.
Yeah,
my
true.
MVP pack arrived
Oh.
with lots of stickers.
But I think we'll crack on with this first topic. So we are talking about Cortex, and the first topic within that is how will end users use it? So I'm going to be cruel here and say, Gary, any thoughts? You've seen bits and bobs around it, but how do you think it's actually going to be used by the end users?
So at this moment in time, it's a difficult one. We had the benefit of Simon Denton, who's Microsoft MVP, coming to our Power Platform user group last week to do a session on Cortex. So it's the first time he's really kind of done one of these sessions outside a Microsoft conference. The last time was Ignite that he did that. So he was able to kind of give us a real world picture of what Cortex is like at the moment. It's very much in preview still. There is no user experience really. It's held together through bits of APIs and sending messages to people in Redmond to churn data in a tenant. It is essentially that.
Would you say there's no user experience? Because there's obviously, they've talked about things like the knowledge center and bits like that. Are they not seeing any of that yet?
There was nothing to demonstrate that at this moment in time. It was in the slide decks. There was nothing real to show. What we got shown was the data collection side. So a lot of it is probably things that you've already been used to if you've seen how the AI builder works with Power Apps. There's a new AI builder icon that goes onto a document library. You essentially set up training models on the library so that when you drop in a document, it goes, okay, this document relates to this model, and that's going to extract the information from that document. So you could use it like a drop-in library. And we got shown, how you can train it because it's this machine teaching, it's not machine learning, where you tell it, look for information in these sections. And it was working. There was a few issues with some complex layouts. There were some complex tables in an invoice this kind of example that we were shown, that it couldn't quite work out the right position. But it's. I think from a business point, it's going to help speed things up. Definitely.
I think that. So certainly when they demoed it at Ignite, they were demoing, the development environments that they're using, and what they were demoing was either a site where you have a Cortex site that you put together, and then you can have the web parts as well that allow you to surface the analyzed content and navigate through via metadata tags.
I'm going to jump in briefly there, Alf, especially for those on the video, and we'll certainly provide links to these. Because Naomi Moneypenny did a very good, she joined the monthly PMP call on there, and you can watch this video and we'll share links to that. But one of the people who attends the call, David Warner, always does a great job of taking screenshots of all those elements. So he's pulled together all the different screenshots on there. So I'm showing some of those on there. And I think one of the interesting things is that kind of block between how you think about Cortex will work. There's managing the data, which is how you sort of pull that data out, the bits Gary was talking about there of it, how you organize it, which is how can you connect those different elements. And I think that's where a lot of those web parts come through, that knowledge center, which I'll definitely come back to in a sec on that, Al. And then empower, about how you can actually get that to people at the right time. So I think from the user experience, there's some interesting things coming with how you manage it. That's going to be a smaller subset. I think a lot of the people will be seeing that knowledge center side of things, those web parts, plus seeing it built into emails and pieces like that as well.
I think from what I gathered is that those are the same images that Simon had in his slide deck. Okay. I would take those with a pinch of salt. That wasn't demonstrated. I don't think that they're using that capability. They're using the capability to basically gather information in a better way. So they're using examples of invoices to be able to put a load of invoices into a document library, have a intelligent system pull out the information that's needed, and then put that basically back onto the document. It's like automatic tagging, but with a bit of cleverness in it.
And I think that those are the elements that they're different building blocks that, you know, Project Cortex is going to cover all of those, because without the metadata, you can't actually do the analysis and the joining and the linking of the information. So therefore, they have to have a tool that is going to allow you to apply that metadata. And certainly AI Builder coming into the document libraries and being able to say, I want to train, you know, the model to pick up on particular areas of a document like that, like the video, the screen, and then drop them in. You know, that is the machine training, rather than looking through a document and trying to extrapolate that information based on you know, the tools that we've maybe used in the past that have been provided by third parties.
I think I think it's a really interesting phrase you used there was machine training. Machine training. I think machine teaching is the big thing they're talking about. This isn't machine learning. This isn't you have to put thousands of docs to process those. It's a bit of a few docs plus telling it where to look for things, and it's that combination. There was a very good Microsoft Research podcast which covers that, but it's a very distinct but a very important point, I think, with it.
I think one of the key things that's going to be really interesting is how users see it fitting into the other capabilities that are there. You know, search, does this replace search? You know, that's always, you know, things like Delve. You know, people used to ask, does that replace search? They'll ask the same thing about this. Does this replace search? How does this fit in? We will end up with the same kind of conversations, I think, around finding information as we do around communication. You know, what tool do I use in what scenario? I think that'll be an intriguing conversation to have when we see what this will actually do.
And I think it's interesting. I think Microsoft is still looking at that as well. So sorry, Gary, from ESPC, I think they were very much still working a lot on this and still working through things themselves. With these web parts, do they sit within search and kind of allow you, for example, this we're showing on the screen here, the kind of node diagrams that you can connect to other things and search one thing and then take it off elsewhere? Or do you specifically go to a knowledge center to find things? I don't think Microsoft know, and I think they're starting to see what is useful for people. And I'm going to give Gary a chance to say. Sorry, Gary.
I guess from my point of view, from the technology side of it, and Al, you alluded to this, it's a series of building blocks to provide one system. And that's going to be Power Platform, certainly with the AI Builder. It's going to use the new Microsoft 365 term store, so it has that in preview. So it's not going to come live until that happens. And I think that we're starting to see, all these services rise up from where they were in SharePoint before, like search and term stores, and then looking up to Microsoft 365 level. And it all is going to be needed for Cortex to really be able to do what they're telling us it's going to be able to do. So there's a lot of work in the background, and it's going to be really interesting to see how Microsoft are going to get all those different product groups to work together to build Cortex. Because, you know, it's not so long ago we were talking about the Power Platform, and then all the licensing changed, and they're standing on their own feet now as an independent product group.
Graph as well, you know, another great example.
You know, it's like, where does this sit? Well, how is the licensing going to work?
I think that's a really important point, because where you're talking about the automated application of metadata using AI Builder, well, AI Builder is an additional license in Power Platform. It's come in as an additional service. So, you know, how will it detriment the output of Cortex if you don't actually pay for AI Builder and you don't have that automated tagging? Because that's going to be a massive factor, because if the tagging isn't there, You know, we've all been around SharePoint and metadata long enough to know the pain of getting users to tag things. So automated tagging is obviously the best way to do it. But if that doesn't happen, the benefit of Cortex will be, well, will there be any benefit to Cortex? I think that's a big question Microsoft have to address.
I think on that note, you're right. Metadata is a key to this, which brings us neatly to wrapping up that topic and going on to talk about metadata. So we'll have a quick pause and move on to the next block. Thanks for listening to part 2, show 2. Stick around and we'll move on to part 3, where we talk about how will Cortex make metadata different.